So this next half hour is all about introducing the pitches. And for those of you who have been to an EAN summit before, you probably are familiar with the concept of what we mean by a pitch. If this is your first time, that might be a new idea. So basically the idea is that these are visionary, strategic proposals about how we can rapidly, cost effectively, and equitably reduce fossil fuel and greenhouse gas pollution. We sort of solicit these ideas ahead of each summit from individual network members and partners. So they don't necessarily reflect the views of the entire network or the EAN organization, but we're creating a platform through the summit to really elevate the kinds of ideas that, you know, in front of the State House, in front of a, we're not always thinking in our most strategic way when we're in those roles, in our most visionary way. And so the summit creates an opportunity to step back, to think big, and that's what the pitches are all about. And they have been the sort of centerpiece of both our 2017 and 2019 summits for those who have seen them in the past. Some lessons learned from this pitch submission process. Historically, several of the pitches that have been presented at EAN summits in the past have helped frame the all of them have helped frame the energy and climate conversation, and several have moved on to be adopted into legislation. And we're going to hear about a few more of those from last year's summit a little bit later in this segment. But others have been presented and generated excitement, but then sat on the shelf and not seen a lot of action or a lot of progress. And so as Jared and I and a lot of our partners, the Summit Planning Committee, the board, and others prepared for this year's summit, we saw an opportunity for EAN to help create structure that would ensure that action is taken on the pitches. We came up with this idea of developing action teams, and it's something we borrowed from the REAMP network, which is a network very similar to EAN working on energy and climate issues across the Midwest. And it allows for a small group of network members and other key partners who may not yet be part of the network to come together to work on a dedicated project. And the leadership would be from network members, from dedicated and committed network members, rather than from the staff of EAN organization. But they would receive staffing support from Jared and myself, and including some modest financial support. And the idea is that you start with an idea like a pitch. Maybe there's already some things in motion around that pitch or not, but having an action team with some dedicated support from the EAN backbone organization would help build capacity for work that's already underway in our network and shepherd new ideas from conception to implementation. So this year, with that in mind, everyone who submitted a pitch was committing to potentially forming an action team and moving it forward. As you've seen, we've been really working to draw attention and highlight energy equity in our work. So we added a new criteria to our pitch selection process and prioritized pitches that promote energy equity. Once again, this year's pitches were asked to focus on the thermal and transportation sectors, since we know this is where the biggest challenges in terms of emissions, energy use, and energy burden come in. We also held some conversations over the summer that many of you participated in to help seed the ideas for particularly strategic pitches. And we did this using what the Energy Action Network calls our strategic leverage areas, the ways we think we're going to make big change in our energy system. And those are capital mobilization, policy and regulatory reform, technology and innovation, and public engagement. So we convened conversations around those strategic pitch areas, asked members to think about where there's been progress, where we're seeing challenges, and what are some ideas that could really help move us forward. Several of the pitches that you're going to hear today emerged from those network-wide discussions, and we're looking forward to continuing those conversations so that future pitches emerge not just from someone sitting on their own and thinking about an idea, but being in collaboration with other network members. So you're going to hear all of the pitches today, have an opportunity to do some Q&A and ask questions. And at the end of the day tomorrow, we're going to invite folks who represent network member organizations and public partner agencies to vote, to help inform which 3 to 5 pitches get selected to form action teams with support from EAN. Now, if the people who presented the pitches want to form their own action teams and make work go forward regardless, that's great. We hope they will, and we'll do our best to support them. But because of the limited capacity of Jared and myself and our backbone organization, we can only really commit to support those 3 to 5. So as you're hearing the pitches today, be thinking about which ones you're most excited about broadly in terms of making progress on our energy and climate goals and our energy equity goals, but also be thinking about the ones where if they really had some of that additional dedicated support from EAN, that would help move the pitches forward and get us that much closer. Before we go into this year's pitches, we wanted to create an opportunity to get an update on a couple of the pitches from last year, which kind of inform the next steps going forward, and to remind you that we do see action on the pitches when they come in. So we're going to start with a brief update from Sue Minter, the president of Capstone Community Action, the executive director of Capstone Community Action, talking about the rural mobility project that they presented last year. Next, we're going to hear from Richard Faesy from Energy Futures Group, giving an update on the Zero Energy Now project. And lastly, we're going to hear from Representative Sarah Copeland Hanzas, who's going to talk about the progress on a variety of policy pitches that came in last year. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite Sue to join me on the stage. You're live, Sue. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Carolyn, Jared, and the entire Energy Action Network for bringing us together for this important conversation, and for all of you for participating, even though remotely. It's great to be here with you. It's a little funny not to see you, but I know you're there. I am Sue Minter. I'm the executive director of Capstone Community Action, an amazing organization that since 1965 has really been in the forefront of helping Vermonters move out of poverty through innovative strategies. And when we were here with you a year ago, it was really at the final end of a year-long strategic planning process through which we engaged our community through surveys, through data assessment, to really understand the needs of our community and to chart a course for the future. We learned several things, but importantly, that in this decade of economic recovery and growth pre-COVID, poverty was also growing in our service area, which is Washington, Lamoille, and Orange counties. But we also learned, and this was a surprise to me, that second only to housing, transportation and access to transportation was the greatest barrier to getting people out of poverty. So for this former transportation secretary, and I know there are some others in the room, this was something I could not let go of. In one of our major gatherings, we had partners from throughout our community, and most importantly, clients we serve, coming up with new ideas for the future. And one of those are what we brought to you. And it was this: how can we imagine a future where we have a large fleet of all electric vehicles that are cooperatively owned, like a car share, to enable middle and upper income people to go from, let's say, a 2-car family to a 1-car family, but also serves as a ride-hailing service, a rural Uber or a Ruber of sorts, for the people who need it, the people who are low-income Vermonters. And that's what it looks like. So we would have the ability to both provide mobility and reduced input from some Vermonters, while opportunity and access to getting to a job, to getting to healthcare appointments, to accessing healthy foods. These are the needs that our low-income neighbors have that we believe this program provides. So thank you for buying into that pitch last year and giving us the momentum, the courage to keep going. And that's what we've been doing since we were here last. Throughout the fall, we brainstormed, we gathered, we wrote many grant applications. And I'm so pleased to announce today that thanks to the great support of this network and literally the financial investment from EAN, the commitment from V-Light, the commitment from High Meadows Fund and the Vermont Community Foundation, we have now received enough investment to really initiate phase 1 of our program. But I need to mention, because I would certainly be remiss not to clarify, that we are behind where we might have wanted to be by now, thanks to the emergency that COVID presented to us. And as an anti-poverty organization, you can imagine we have been truly on the front lines of this emergency, most intensively supporting low-income families. We really had to redeploy our entire agency and reestablish our mission for a significant period of time, which I'm not going to get into, other than to announce that last week we celebrated over 50 volunteers who have, over this last 6 months, provided meals that our repurposed community kitchen academy, our local restaurants and faith community provided for over 300 people being housed in area hotels. 81,000 meals have been distributed in these 6 months to formerly homeless people to make sure that they could, in fact, stay home and stay safe. But I digress. The point is, we came out of the fog of that time with a phone call from Gabrielle from V-Light and from Betsy from High Meadows to get us back on track to focusing on what our opportunity is to move forward with this important endeavor. We've created new partnerships. I want to recognize Jonathan Slazen of RSG. We have partnered with CarShare Vermont. We have our allies with Lyft and Lime, the Vermont Agency of Transportation, the legislature, our utilities, Sustainable Montpelier. We've connected with our Thrive Collaborative. That's the social service agencies with whom we are deeply connected in this mission, and our large employers in the area. Those are the meetings we're having as we enter phase 1, which is really the planning and development of this great idea. Our next steps are to hire a program champion. We're going to be looking to all of you to find the right person for us. We're developing a business plan, and it is interesting how differently the world is shaped because of COVID. For example, the Central Vermont Medical Center HR director a year ago told us he had 200 people that he was trying empty spots to fill, but the transportation impediment was making this very, very challenging. This month, he says, the world has changed because of telehealth. People don't need to drive to work as much anymore. So we need to explore the changes. Obviously, we need to explore the technology, the mobile devices and apps that we need to use and how we distribute those to the people who we are intending to serve, as well as the vehicle technology. So it's a complicated dynamic that we are exploring in this phase 1. Our goal is next year to be ready for phase 2, ready to invest in the infrastructure and planning the operations to make this real. I want to just say finally that it is so incredible to be with all of you collaborators in this endeavor, and to thank the EAN especially for looking to a just transition. We will not meet our climate goals if all of us are not able to be a part of the solution. So the environmental movement can't just be thinking about one sector. It must be inclusive, and it must be focused on equity and justice. And that's part of what we're talking about today. That's why our program and others you'll hear about have this important focus. You know, this climate emergency coordinate at the same time as a health emergency. This disruption, you know, there are opportunities within the disruption, and that's what we're looking for. We need innovation. We need diversity. We need to commit to solutions that lift all of us up to be a part of our green energy future. Thank you so much for your support and for the great ideas to come.
Thank you, Sue, and Richard Faesy from Energy Futures.
So,
welcome.
Greetings. Okay. Should I proceed, Carolyn?
You can go ahead, Richard, sorry.
Great. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for allowing me to follow up on last year's pitch on Zero Energy Now. I'm excited for the summit today and tomorrow. What a great opportunity for everybody to lead us into the future to try to solve some huge problems that we have in front of us, but with some great solutions at the same time. So I'm Richard Faesy with Energy Futures Group, also representing a board of Building Performance Professionals Association, BPPA, and we'll be talking about the Zero Energy Now program that Tom Perry presented last year and providing an update in terms of progress we've made to date, which is really exciting. So, if I can advance my slides. Okay, so we've seen this slide a couple times this morning. Jared shared it with us. We certainly have a large problem in front of us, but also at the same time a great opportunity. If we're able to address two of these sectors in terms of the thermal and electricity sector with an initiative that will address heat pumps, weatherization, renewable systems, water heating, and electrical generation, we will be able to make significant progress. So that initiative is Zero Energy Now. Just as an update, what is this? This was one of the Zero Energy Now is one of the initiatives that received top voting last year, and we've made some great progress in the meantime. So this is really an existing homes focused initiative that tackles three of the major opportunities in existing buildings. A large part of our building housing, our opportunity in Vermont for saving energy and reducing carbon. Zero Energy Now targets 50 to 100% energy savings in existing buildings through weatherization, heat pumps, and solar PV. It's really a comprehensive effort that pulls together custom recommendations, a savings guarantee, financing, program integration with other programs that are out there, a network of contractors who've been trained and certified, and using a building energy model to make sure that we're providing optimized solutions and recommendations for homeowners to achieve that 50 to 100% savings. Last year, Tom shared some of the experience from the pilot program that we had rolled out in 2016, 2017. 35 homes went through this initiative. We were able to get solid pre and post energy data on those for 24 of those homes. The average total fossil fuel and grid-based electric savings for those 24 homes was 64%. That is significant. That's 3 times what the sort of typical expected savings we would see in the home performance or existing homes programs. Because we've layered onto the weatherization, the fuel switching through heat pumps, and generating that electricity for the heat pumps through solar PV, a renewable component as well. 64% savings in existing homes actually verified and achieved through this pilot program. That translates into an average of about more than $1,800 a home in savings. We also actually, and so because that was average, we had some really high performing homes too. The highest one achieving 98% savings and more than $3,800 in annual savings. So this isn't new construction. These are existing homes, and with these existing technologies packaged together and offered, there's great opportunity. We took those learnings from the pilot program and developed a project team that is rolled this program out. Northeast Energy Efficiency Partnerships, the BPPA I mentioned before, with certified contractors, financing through VSCCU, and Efficiency Vermont. And we're making great progress. We secured funding for this year through the Energy Foundation, National Foundation Organization, Efficiency Vermont, Vermont Community Foundation, B-Light with a target on low moderate income homeowners as well, and the Energy Action Network. So we've opened the door in July. The program is rolling, but we are here today and we'll be talking tomorrow about looking for additional partners. We've got some funding needs to keep the program going and partnerships as well. We've got the program up and running. We've got up to $20,000 in incentives that are available for successful projects. Our goal is to complete 10 more projects this year. We're well on track. We've got at least 2/3 of those lined up right now. For next year, we're looking for additional funding, partnerships, growing those projects. Same in the following year, outgoing. Engaging partners is really the goal of our discussion here and tomorrow. So we'll be looking for financial assistance to keep this program going as a solution for existing homes, collaboration with others, steering committee interest, any one of you who wants to get off fossil fuel and reduce your grid electric consumption, participate. Our contractors, our top home performance contractors, promote Zero Energy Now, and we'll be working with the PUC and the legislature for recognition as well. Thank you, and just want to say that we'll be around. We'll have a networking table opportunities tomorrow, and really look forward to finding the next steps and moving Zero Energy Now forward. Thank you.
Good morning. It is fantastic to be with you here today, and I want to thank EAN for the opportunity to be here today. EAN is doing great work helping Vermont make its progress on climate by making sure that its data is understandable and accessible to legislators and the public. And so we very much appreciate EAN and all of your hard work. So I've been asked to come this morning and share a little bit about the 2019 EAN pitches. And so I will start with a little story about each of those. I don't know about you, but for me, 2019 feels like it was forever ago. But lo and behold, here I am, and it's only been a year. So the 2019 pitches really were there were 4 of them that I want to make note of. The Transportation and Climate Initiative being the first one. Transportation and Climate Initiative is the 13 jurisdictions up and down the Eastern Seaboard. Governors have come together to form a cap and invest program, and we were making good progress moving toward implementation decision-making points on TCI until the global pandemic hit in March. So as you can imagine, TCI was put on the back burner so that the governors on the Eastern Seaboard could focus on COVID response. And TCI is still moving forward, and I believe that the next decision point will come in late 2020 or early 2021 as the different jurisdictions start to resume their work on TCI. The next pitch from last year was 100% renewable energy standard. This was adopted as a priority by the Legislative Climate Solutions Caucus, and work began on the bill in January. And until COVID hit, it looked like we were making strong progress on this. Engagement on the bill was strong by advocates and the industry. But sadly, we will likely have to come back to this one in 2021, and I certainly hope we will. So the next pitch from last year was our energy efficiency utility modernization. So as we are slowly moving towards expanding the mission of our energy efficiency utilities to cover more greenhouse gas emissions, another proposal that came from the EAN pitch presentations last year. And basically this is an idea that says when we can align our incentives and make them easily accessible to Vermonters, we'll not only see our emissions drop, but more importantly, we'll see Vermont families and Vermont businesses saving millions of dollars on their heating and transportation costs. And so we are happy to say that this project is moving forward. We were able to move forward with an expansion of the piloting of how we can use our energy efficiency utility to cut our use of fossil fuels in heating and transportation. So the final piece of legislation that I want to talk about is the Global Warming Solutions Act. The Global Warming Solutions Act, first of all, let me tell you what it does for folks who don't recall offhand. It changes the goals that we have set from aspirational to legal and binding. And it also holds government accountable for the promises and pledges that we make to the environment. It gives citizens the right to take the state to court if we don't meet our goals. But let's be really clear, no one is going to get rich off of this. If a citizen suit were to prevail, they would basically be telling the Climate Action Council to go back to work and write a better plan. And so finally, it sets up a council made up of gubernatorial appointees and legislative appointees, and it gives them authority to craft climate proposals. So those proposals will have to come back for funding through the normal legislative process, where a bill passes, then the governor signs the bill. But this Climate Council will be doing a lot of the work to set out the proposals and move forward with the plan. Global Warming Solutions Act isn't revolutionary. It's modest, and it's modeled on legislation that's already at work in Massachusetts, New York, and Maine, and they are seeing great successes with it. Governor Scott, I believe, was misguided when he vetoed the Global Warming Solutions Act, and it's very unfortunate for the progress that we are trying to make on climate action. Thankfully, the legislature overrode that veto, and you will see very shortly that there are many. There's going to be some pitches for appointments to the Climate Council. And so I just wanted to speak with you all a little bit about that today, because the Speaker and the Committee on Committees in the Senate get to appoint members to this Climate Council. And I'm sure that there are members of EAN and attendees here today who should be on this council. And so I want to invite you to think about submitting your name. And if you don't know where to submit your name to because you haven't heard from the Speaker's office or the Committee on Committees, you can certainly submit your information to me, and I'd be happy to elevate your interest in any one of these positions. So that is all that I have for a recap on the pitches. I really look forward to seeing the pitches that come forward from this year. Because we have often felt that these are ready-made projects for those of us in the legislature who are passionate about climate. And so thank you all.
Thank you so much, Representative, and thanks to Sue and Richard as well for letting folks know the progress that has been made on the previous year's pitches, and also setting up the important context, particularly with the passage of the Global Warming Solutions Act, for the pitches that you're going to hear this year.